if I'm so heart-led and relationship-focused and really every aspect of my business that's working is because of that. Like truly, if I broke it all down, I was all referral based. Everything was deep relationship with other women. None of it had anything to do with an Instagram bio. None of it had anything to do with like a launch strategy. I mean, I had grown my business to multiple six figures. I jokingly say the easy way, but really it was just a natural way. It was being in relationship with people, being heart-centered, sharing myself vulnerably, allowing my human to be a part of the process. And so, I was kind of like, okay, well, what if I just double down on what's working?
Hey there, and welcome to the Life and Business on Purpose podcast, where purpose meets profit and mindset meets strategy. I'm your host, Sandy Patterson, former kindergarten teacher turned online business coach, mom of two really cool boys, and the creator of the Momentum Method. Through this 3-phase method over the past 2.5 years, I have helped dozens of women build values-aligned, profitable businesses without working 40+ hours a week so they get to enjoy their business and live their lives on purpose. Around here, we do business differently because we believe success isn't about hustling to prove ourselves. We don't believe in rigid formulas or chasing someone else's version of success. It's about channeling perfection into power, moving with unstoppable trust in life and business, and leading with strategy that actually fits your life. Let's build your life and business on purpose together, one episode at a time. Here we go. Hello, you guys. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm so happy you're here, and I am extra excited today because I have a very special guest with us, Andrea Johnson. Welcome, Andrea.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited for this conversation.
Oh my gosh, me too. Andrea and I are in a shared space together. And like I just told you when we hopped on this call, I was like so excited to connect and just hear more about your story and maybe even share what you shared during that space time, because I think it's stuck with me and it's stuck with a lot of women that were in that space too. So Andrea is a licensed therapist and intimacy expert turned business mentor. This is such an interesting combination. So please tell us everything. Tell me everything.
I know. It's always like, how did that happen?
Yeah. I want to know. We want to know.
Yeah. Really organically, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. And so my background, a lot of times people, rightfully so, think, okay, you work with couples. And of course, that's part of it. But really the training to become a marriage and family therapist is all around systems. So it's relationship, but everything being a relationship, and how, every area of your life we're in relationship with, and how each of those impacts the other areas. And so I love that lens in general. And I think it just really opened me up to viewing business as a relationship we get to be in, our relationship to our clients, our relationship to ourselves and our lives, and, intimacy and all of it. And so I just got really obsessed with systemic relationship in general. And that organically kind of evolved into other business owners being like, wait a second, how did you grow what you've grown? And just kind of evolved into business mentorship from there. So everything that I do in business really is all of my strategy, the way that I look at it, comes from my background in, systems, therapy, psychology, relationship, intimacy.
I love it. And you did such a good job, because I was going to say, bridge the gap here between relationships and business. But you hit the nail on the head, I think, when you said, you really, truly are. We are, as business owners, in a relationship with our business, and how we move inside of that, and with our clients, and even just within ourselves, right? When you start a business, your relationship with yourself is magnetized, and you're like, holy shit, what is happening here? So that is so, so cool. tell me a little bit about too, like what came up for me when you were talking is like how you tie the intimacy with your like, just tell me more. Tell me more. I want to
Wow.
know more.
Well, uh, I I think the best place to start in going into that is just my own personal relationship with business and what I had to really embody based
hmm
on everything that I knew in order to make this a sustainable relationship. Because when I was what felt like fumbling my way through business in the most naive way, which, by the way, such a blessing to not know anything in that season because your girl was just going for it.
Yep.
Um,
As we do.
but yeah, yeah. But it was like, as I started to try to do business the right way, when I actually started to be like, okay, this is a real thing, stuff is working, I started trying on other people's strategies and tactics. And while all of that was so helpful in exploration and discovery of myself, really where it landed me was in this place of like, I'm not enjoying my business. Something is
Yep.
off. Something doesn't feel right. A lot of it's quote unquote working. But if this is what business is, I don't know if it's actually for me.
Yeah, I don't want it. I don't want it. I
Well,
changed
I
my mind.
want it.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I also didn't necessarily feel like I wanted to work for someone else and go that path either. And so it just felt kind of like there has to be another way. There has to be
hmm
another way. And so as a woman, I think, knowing what I know about being a woman through the studying intimacy and just being very heart-centered,
hmm
I knew that so much of what I was trying to implement in business actually went against the grain of what comes naturally for me. And so I had this moment of, okay, if I'm so heart-led and relationship focused and really every aspect of my business that's working is because of that. Like truly, if I broke it all
mm
down,
hmm
I was all referral based. Everything was deep relationship with other women. None of
Yeah.
it had anything to do with an Instagram bio. None of it
hmm
had anything to do with like a
Yeah.
launch strategy. I mean, I had grown my business to multiple six figures. I jokingly say the easy way, but really it was just a natural way. It was
Yeah.
being in relationship with people, being heart centered, sharing myself vulnerably, allowing my human to be a part of the process. And
hmm
so, yeah, I was kind of like, okay, well, what if I just double down on what's working? What if I just
hmm
say, okay, yes, you built relationships, and just because your IG bio isn't SEO optimized doesn't mean like your business is bad. There's stuff that's working
Right.
here. And so, yeah, I'm like, what if I started leading myself in my business the way I lead myself in lovership? And
Mm.
lovership being in like open-hearted, vulnerable,
Yeah. Yeah.
honest, truthful, omega way, which is what I call it. A lot of people say feminine, masculine. I say omega and alpha.
I love it.
This omega way, which is like immersing yourself into life, allowing yourself to be impacted by everything that's happening around you and really learning to resensitize to life. Where so much of business had felt almost like my big emotions were going to be the demise of my business,
Right.
that I almost had to grow harder and colder
Yeah.
to make this thing work and become quote unquote, un F withable. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I actually like that I feel the sting when I get a mean comment. I actually like
Mm.
that I care if you're in my program or not. I don't
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't actually want to be the woman who is, who doesn't give a you know
Yeah.
what,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
can I actually use that to my advantage here in business and allow that to propel me forward if I bring more of that to the table
Yeah.
versus it being the thing that's gonna, be
I
what
love
makes
that.
everything fall apart.
Yeah, and it turns out it works, right? Like you are living proof
Absolutely.
that it works. And that resonates so much with me. And I think what we talk about is very similar in the sense that I have a lot of people that come to me and they'll say, Sandy, I'm doing so many things. I'm doing so much work. I'm putting so much effort in. I'm working really hard. I'm hustling, doing all the things. And when we stop and we go, well, tell me what you're doing. Like, what are you actually doing? And they'll ramble off this list of things from a checklist that somebody gave them, right? And I'm like, well, why are you doing that? What's the purpose behind that? And they can't actually tell me. They're like, I don't know. It's just because this is how I should be doing it.
Mhm.
So I call it in my business values aligned strategies. So, and a values aligned business where what you're doing, how you're showing up every day and your marketing, your sales, your content, like everything, client delivery is all aligned with who you are as a person. And I love that you brought forward, like my business has been built on relationships. I am a heart-centered person in every other aspect of my life. So I'm going to be like that and I'm going to nurture that inside my business. That is so
Absolutely.
beautiful. And I think that a lot of us just panic and we don't know that there's another way, right? We think like it has to be this bro marketing way or this bro sales way or like these really hard
Yeah.
and fast rules that don't actually exist. And when we can let go of that and go, oh, wait, there's another way, that's when
Right.
your business starts to feel fun, starts to feel like an extension of you, right?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, it gets to feel really, really fun. And again, bringing in the intimacy angle
Yeah.
at like a flirtation or
Yeah.
like just so honest and pure, but also seductive and not in
Mm.
there's something we say in the intimacy world of like as a skillful omega,
Mhm.
someone who immerses into life versus transcends out of, right? Like the conscious alpha is like, let me transcend out of
Yeah.
and see what's going on, which we all have that in us as well. And I would be also nowhere without that part of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, like this immersing into life, tasting everything, resensitizing, all of it. It's like that that is where we learn to be with pleasure too, where we learn it's
Mm.
not all just about how do we expand our capacity to hold what's hard. That's such a part
Yeah.
of the conversation, but it's actually where can you allow yourself to feel really good and let that like riding that high, like let it take you, you know?
Ooh. Yeah.
And I think that that's been just there's a moment with my partner, um, as we do a lot of the intimacy practices together
Yeah.
where I remember feeling like so deeply seen by him in one of the practices where it
Mm.
was like any part of me that was at all performing intimacy, what not knowing, right? Because
Mhm.
sometimes it's like
Mhm.
your alpha is doing the omega. It's like, let me do the omega right, you know?
Yep. Yep.
But
Yep.
like actually embodying and revealing the openness and tenderness of the real life moment versus what I was trying to say earlier, dancing for your dinner, right? It's almost like, can I look sexy? Can I get his attention?
Yeah.
Let me perform. Where true omega is I never move quicker than the speed of my own opening, than the speed of my own turn on. I'm not trying to
Mm.
get anywhere. I'm just being present with what's here. And I just remember
Mm.
the power of experiencing that with him and being like, this feels so I feel so vulnerable, so exposed, but also more seen than I've ever felt in my entire life.
Mm.
And I think for a lot of female entrepreneurs, like we yearn so badly to be seen,
Mhm.
like for our gifts and our hearts. But if we're not willing to show it And if we're performing business, saying the thing that we think we're supposed to say or doing the thing we think we're supposed to do, it's like you can have all the visibility in the world and feel like nobody can hear you screaming underwater.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
I don't feel seen at all. I feel lonely. And it's like, what are you talking about? You have tens of thousands of followers and you've gone
Yeah.
viral and this. And it's like, but you're
Yeah.
not actually revealing yourself at all.
Yes. Oh my gosh. This is such a great conversation. And when you talked about the performing, right? I think that's something that so many of us, especially new entrepreneurs too, get really, really sucked into, that we have to show up a very certain way. We have to check certain boxes. We have to, or else our audience or our clients won't see us as, fill in the blank, the adjective, whatever, professional, experienced, the authority, whatever it is. And so we inadvertently, I don't ever think it's like on purpose, like I'm going to show up with this mask on, but we inadvertently find ourselves performing. And when we can understand a little bit more, or when we, I guess, not even understand, but acknowledge that that's happening and then notice where it's happening, that's really where the shift begins. And then I feel like what you're describing is like capacity to hold more emotions inside of any given relationship or container, like good, bad, anything in between.
The whole shebang. And I'm
The
like,
whole shebang.
the whole shebang. I'm trying to help women experience their range, experience
Mm-hmm.
fullness.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like when you can experience the fullness of yourself and of the moment,
Yeah.
that's where it just feels like possibility. Like the moment is pregnant and anything
Mm.
can be birthed.
Yes. And that goes against, I think, what a lot of us women have been taught or told, again, inadvertently, that certain emotions or certain ways of feeling are bad,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you can't be, you can't do those things. You got to stay in a certain frequency or a certain emotion. You can speak to this more.
Yeah.
You
I love this. Yeah. I feel like I could preach about this all day long, but one of the
please do.
foundational, I know, do you have the next 12 hours open?
Sure.
Um, but I think, I know I've experienced this, my clients experience this where they get in a quote unquote low vibe, right? Like they're
Mm-hmm. Yep.
feeling grief, they're
Yep.
feeling sadness. Sometimes it feels like for no reason, good old luteal comes
Yep.
about and they're like, I'm supposed to be happy, but I feel
Yeah.
low energy. I could sleep all
Yeah.
day. Like I just don't feel like doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes life happens. Like
Mm-hmm.
you lose a loved one, there's an accident. Sometimes it's less severe than that, but life is lifing
Mm-hmm.
at the same time. We're trying to grow
Always.
businesses.
Yep.
And the trap that women get into is that somehow, because they aren't in a high vibe state, feeling happy all the time, that
Mm-hmm.
that blocks sales and success.
Mm-hmm.
And in intimacy, one really powerful, again, another foundational piece that makes intimacy what it is that there is no block to intimacy. None. So often women and people in general will experience contraction around something. They're a little cranky or
Mm-hmm.
life happens and it almost feels like, let me deal with this or regulate myself out of this state, and then
Yeah.
I'm available for love. Then I can come back to my partner and I'm easy to be with,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not making my problem their problem. And now I'm available for love. And it's like, actually, what intimacy says is every moment is a pathway to intimacy as long as you're willing to reveal it. And
Love that.
so it's like, oh, now it doesn't actually matter what emotional state I'm in. If I'm able to skillfully be with that emotion, which is a whole other topic, but skillfully be with it, meaning I can
And
breathe
be
with
with. Yeah.
it.
Not ignore, not like push it to the side, not pretend like it's not there, but be with
Bingo.
it. Yeah.
Be with
Mm-hmm.
it. Truly
Mm-hmm.
be with it.
Yeah.
Meaning I can cycle it through my body. I can experience the fullness of whatever the sensation is, and I can stay and not abandon myself. If I can be with it, then I can invite my partner into it with me. And
Mm-hmm.
now, thing that I thought was once a block to intimacy becomes the pathway to it. And that right there is the magic, because a
Oh,
shift
magic.
reality is created,
Yeah.
right?
And when we had talked about this before too, Andrea, you had said, like, when you were explaining this, and it was like I think a very big aha moment for everybody in the room. We were like, wait, what? Like, hold on. Like, I can feel shitty. I can feel like tired. I can feel like I don't want to do this today. And I can bring that with me to continue to move versus having to pull out of my business for the week or the day. I can still show up in ways that feel like okay to me. Wait, what? Like, that was a big, big moment, I think, for a lot of us. We were like, hold on.
Because then there's nothing to fix. There's no problem.
There's nothing to fix. Like, say that
Yes,
again. There's
there is
nothing to fix.
nothing to fix. It's like, but so many women are programmed to think that our emotions, if we're not happy, horny, or grateful,
Yep.
that
Yep.
those any emotions outside of those are a problem to be solved.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
what intimacy says, and what business intimacy
Mm-hmm.
says, is that we actually get to immerse into that state deeper, and the teaching, the wisdom comes from it. And so the
Mm-hmm.
second you try to get out, you make it a problem, kink in the
Mm-hmm.
hose, you try to get out of it, which we know asking yourself or anyone else to change their state doesn't work. You
Yeah.
resist it.
Right.
Um, and you actually lose the wisdom that the emotion is trying to reveal.
Mm.
And so I love practicing this myself and teaching my women this of like, what if your greatest content is within the texture of whatever is here in the present moment, and teaching
Mm.
them how to actually get in connection with what
Mm-hmm.
the message is, and then allowing them to naturally bloom into a woman who's willing to reveal her heart
Oh,
from
so
what's
good.
just the raw truth,
I love that.
which
And
is like magnetic, right?
so magnetic. And what I love about this conversation too, even just like your energy and your aura is like, we're not rushing anything. Like, we don't need to rush anything, right? Like, let's just let it be. Let's let it be. I love that.
Uh,
I have a question for you. So along these same lines. So what does it look like for you, looking from like the business intimacy lens? What does it look like for you when you are having one of those days where you're not fully like, yeah, I'm here, I'm ready to sell, I'm ready to create content, I'm ready to serve my clients? What does that look like for you to continue to show up in that state and move with it versus being like, I'll
yeah.
wait until tomorrow?
Yeah. Oh gosh, I have my own practice. So what I usually will happen is I will be with myself first. Okay.
Mm, mm-hmm,
Meaning we have two parts of us. One is the omega and one is the alpha. Again, masculine and feminine, or what a lot of people say. But those two energies create polarity. So technically they're the same thing, different ends of the spectrum. So identical in nature, varying in degree, just like temperature, right?
mm-hmm,
100
mm-hmm,
degrees and 30 degrees, both temperatures, same in nature, but varying in degree.
mm-hmm,
So alpha and omega are the same thing. They're just energetic states, okay?
mm-hmm,
But when we can pull those two parts apart from each other, we can create what's called polarity internally. So a
mm-hmm,
lot of people think about, they speak about polarity in relationship, which we
mm-hmm.
love and I talk about a lot. but we have that same polarity inside of us. Okay. And so
Mm.
what the practice I teach and I embody myself does is it allows those two parts to be in union with one another. So I actually pull them apart. They have a conversation with each other. It's called the I see, I feel practice.
Mhm, mhm,
And that means my omega can fully immerse in the emotion of what's alive here.
mhm,
So
mhm.
that's the feeler. I feel, I feel, I feel, I feel, I feel exhausted. I feel tired. I feel crabby. I feel like I want to give up on my business. I feel angry. I feel everything I'm
Yeah.
doing is stupid. What's the point? I
Yeah.
feel
Burn it
scared.
all down.
Everything.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
the thing about omega is she's she makes no sense. And that's the freedom because she can feel wildly grateful in one breath and like she hates everything in the next breath. That's she's everything and she isn't logical. And the second you try to make her logical is this her petals close, right? Now, so she's just feeling. And then I
Yeah.
have Alpha who's the transcending energy
Mhm.
flying up into the tree, witnessing what she's bringing. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Alpha is like, I see how much color you bring to life. I see your
Mm.
pain. I mean, I see. Now, what that does is it creates such a powerful union of being able to cycle emotion through, but have a solid core in your alpha, which is like, I've got us. You can be a
Mm.
river, you can flow everything that
Mhm.
you're bringing, your rage, your
Yeah.
fury, your sadness, your heartbreak, your joy, all of it is I love it all.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
that's alpha's work is to love omega, to see
I
her
love
for what she is.
it.
And that, I'm telling you, it's one of those things where it's like you've got to experience it to really feel the beauty and the power in it.
Mhm.
But imagine it in a relationship at, a two-body practice where you bring your man, you're like, you can just bring everything that you are, your storm, your radiance, all of it.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
like, not going anywhere. Like, yes, bring
Mm.
it. You know,
Oh, I love
it's like
that.
now that's the intimacy, right?
Yeah.
Is like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what emotion is here, I'm here for it. Like your
Yeah.
partner's here for it. And you have that part internally within you that can
Yeah.
hold it and is here for it.
Yeah.
And so
Oh,
from that
so good.
union place, it's like that to me is where I can be in one of the most high stress situations and be totally at ease and calm. And people are like,
Mhm.
how are you handling this? And I'm like,
Yeah.
pretty easily, actually, but it's
Yes.
because I have that inner union on lock,
Oh,
you
I
know?
love that. And I know so many women listening right now, what you said about the omega doesn't, like, she doesn't make sense. Like,
Yeah.
she's everything and like, it doesn't make sense. I think that is going to land because so many of us, myself included, like, sometimes I'm like, I can't figure this out. Like, why am
Mm.
I feeling this way today? Like, there's no reason for me to be feeling this good or this bad or whatever, anything in between. But
Yeah.
like, there's no, and you don't need to explain it or fix it. It's just, it gets to be, it is what it is. And
Totally.
that really aligns to, I'll have to tell you this, and I've told you this, but when we were in our space together, I had asked, I'm like, you guys, like, I'm trying to figure out like who I am. Like, who am I? I don't know who I am. Like having this like midlife, mental crisis
Identity crisis.
breakdown. And yes,
Yeah.
like, who am I? Where? And you just so calmly, you were like, Sandy, you're everything. You're
Yeah.
everything. Like every day, you're everything. And I was like, oh, you're right. It's the omega, right? She's everything. It's the
That's
omega.
not cool.
So cool.
So
Yes.
sweet.
Yes.
And it's like,
Yes.
it's so funny, a real life example. So I have a
Yeah.
very alpha partner, very alpha.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we work
Mm-hmm.
so well because I'm very omega and there's
Yeah.
polarity there. But it's like we moved into this house and it's just a rental, like trying to figure out where we want to end up. So it's a space kind of in between. And there's a beautiful back patio. And there I am in my Omega. Like I desire this back patio to be such a space for memories, right? Love driven being, super heart, right? And
Yes.
he immediately being the alpha guy, like as I'm mapping out the outdoor furniture and the lighting that I want for the place. And he's like, babe, we're going to be here at max a year. Why that doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
To spend
Yeah.
money on decking out the space when we have no idea if the furniture for this place is going to like fit the next. And that is such a very just everyday real life moment
Yep.
where the alpha and the omega are doing their thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where omega is
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't care if it doesn't make sense.
Yep. Yep.
I just want the space.
I want what I want.
I
Yeah.
want what I
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
Her, like, I remember feeling, and this is natural,
Yeah.
right? Like, this is just what happens. My petals closing a little, like almost like my bubble got burst a little bit,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Where
Yeah.
understanding alpha is logic, efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
It's not efficient. Why would we do it?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Alpha is step by step, check the boxes, purpose driven. Purpose
Mm-hmm.
driven.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning the whole point, which is what Omega gets to remind us of, right? The whole
Yeah.
point is like love. That's what Omega
Yeah.
stands for, is love always.
Yeah.
Alpha is here in pursuit of purpose.
Yeah. And what is coming up for me as you're saying this is like, I think a lot of us in business specifically too are very much in the alpha, in the outcome driven, like purpose
Yeah.
driven, like instead of the omega where it's more like like you said, relationships, heart centered, like let things just kind of flow and I want what I want. And
Yep.
yeah.
Totally. And here's the thing, I want to really reiterate that we all have both energies and we need both to make our business
Mm-hmm.
run, our
Yep.
relationships run. We need both. So
Both. Yeah.
I love my alpha. I
Yeah.
love my alpha. I
Yeah.
trust my alpha. My alpha is the thing that I can say I'm going to do something and keep my word. My alpha is what holds my clients most of the time and their most
Mm-hmm.
omega
Yep.
moments. Like,
Yep.
I am not here to poo-poo alpha,
Right.
but what I am here to do is allow an opening for women to really embody their omega more because of how much richness comes from their omega when they've probably been programmed to believe that that part of themselves is a problem.
Yep. Or like put it away, push it away, shove it down, pretend like it's not there.
True.
Absolutely. 100%.
Business is business.
Mm-hmm.
Leave your emotions at the door. It's old
Mm-hmm.
paradigm, right? You have a
Mm-hmm.
boss, leave your
Yep.
home stuff at home. Like, but we're entrepreneurs and
Oh,
we're
I love
women at
this.
that. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's like we get to pave a way that
Yeah.
works for us and that where we don't have to be cut off these parts of ourselves that make us who we are. And then we're in this business that doesn't actually feel good. And we've just created
Mm.
a job for ourselves.
I love
It's
this.
like our
Yeah.
business gets to hold all of us.
Yes, I love this conversation so much. It really, really is landing. I have another question for you, and this is a little bit going backwards to the beginning of the conversation, but I'm curious about this. So, when you were talking about like, I realized that I'm going to like, I need to make this shift and kind of balance more the omega and the alpha in my business more and allowing, just like what you said, like the petals to open a little more, let me kind of lead in a way that feels heart centered. You said that required me to share myself, my whole self vulnerably. So I'm curious, when you like realized this, if you're open to sharing, what were some of the things that you had to share vulnerably that didn't feel comfortable in that moment?
Oh my goodness. Such a good question. Well, a part of my work has been around revealing what I had shame around, and so
Mm.
you and I both have a mentor, sweet Shoshana.
Mhm.
She had her own, vulnerability project. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, like I need to go on my own version of that and
Yeah.
out myself. And so, a lot around postpartum, motherhood.
Mm.
I had my son, he's 6 now. I've been in business for over 14 years. And so, uh, I had operated a certain way for a really long time. And then I had
Yep.
him. It broke me open, as motherhood tends to do, and
Yes.
in more ways than one. And,
Yeah.
I was going through a time where I had a lot of shame around what motherhood was feeling like for me. And, thinking that all of that didn't belong in my business, right? It's like, here I am,
Mm.
therapist, by the way,
Yeah.
struggling with my
Yeah.
own mental health behind the scenes. Hello,
Right.
shame spiral. Like I'm not
Right.
allowed to be
Right.
human.
Yeah.
That's all judgmental alpha, unskillful, by the way. Skillful alpha loves omega. Unskillful alpha is the critic and the judge. Okay. And
Okay.
so it was
Okay.
like, you're a bad mom, blah, blah, everybody says that you're supposed to
Yeah.
feel this like loving bond. What is it? You're broken. You must be a monster. I mean, I had this horrible inner critic.
Mhm.
And I remember there was a breaking point where one day I Googled, I was like, I can't be the only mom who feels like maybe I'm not supposed to be a mom. I
Mm.
can't possibly be alone in this. And so I went on, I Googled mothers who regret motherhood. And
Mm.
this article came up, and the whole article was like, oh my gosh, this is giving me such hope. Like maybe I've found other moms that, everything's not all instant bond with my child and this and that. And then, but at the end, it said, but I don't regret motherhood. I'm not a monster.
Mm.
And in that
Ooh.
moment, it confirmed I am a monster, because my reality and my truth was like, I've made a mistake. I
Oh,
regret this,
I
you
feel
know?
that deeply. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm like, for all those moms that have a really great, like, newborn stage, I'm like, props to you. But I told my husband, I was like, we've ruined our lives. We have
Yeah.
ruined our lives.
I mean,
Yeah,
really looking back, like when you're outside of it, it's like, it's just an intense grieving process of
absolutely. Mm-hmm.
and,
Who
it's
you
such
were.
a
Mm-hmm.
transitional moment. And yeah,
Yeah.
identity, gosh, there was so much to
Yeah.
it that I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't see through the shame.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I remember that moment being like, I really am a monster. And
Mm.
I brought that into my mentorship with Shoshana, and she was like, let me reveal that with no judgment. And I realized in that moment, like, she went
Mm.
through her own vulnerability project and I need to go through mine. And so I actually
Mm-hmm.
reached out to moms on my social media and like made a post, got in DMs with other moms. And I was basically inviting them to reveal their most horrific thoughts that they have as mothers,
Mm.
thoughts, the feelings that they feel the most shame
Mm-hmm.
around. And I'm telling you, my DMs were flooded with like,
Mm.
I'm convinced every day my kids are assholes. I hate them, and it's just like all of this, like just
Yeah.
revealing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the shame that I felt for nearly 3 years shattered in that one day. Just being
Mm.
in conversation with those women. And
Yeah.
that was a breakthrough moment for me of like the power of just the truth of our hearts.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, not saying you have to reveal every deep, dark secret on the internet.
No.
I don't believe that,
No.
but there is power to it.
It's a good question, though. Like, what are you feeling shame around when it comes to whatever area, you're currently working through or moving through? I mean, that's a really, really great question.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's,
It's it thrives in the darkness, right? In the
it
secrecy.
does.
And
Yeah.
so if we
Yeah.
like put these parts of ourselves in a corner, that's what becomes the shadow, right? And to reintegrate that, we've got to bring it to the light in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. And it goes back to the performative piece that we were talking about of like, I need to show up a certain way. I need to be a certain way. I need to have this all figured out in order for me to be able to help my clients. But really, it's like, that's
Yeah.
not why your clients hire you. Like your clients hire you because they feel a connection with you. And the only way to feel the connection, the intimacy in this case, is by sharing those things that maybe we feel that we're scared to share, right?
Absolutely. It's an edge. And I think that's what
Yeah.
business and intimacy, being in relationship with anything in general is
Yeah.
finding that edge and revealing, finding that,
Mm-hmm.
or you wind up in, a self-protected kind of relationship with things, which isn't necessarily bad. But if you're like me, someone who wants the most ecstatic sex, the deepest kind of
Mm-hmm.
love,
Yeah.
the like the type of intimacy and depth that most people will never experience in their lifetimes because they don't
Mm-hmm.
even know it exists. Like that's what I'm in pursuit of, which means
Mm.
that the stakes are higher when it comes to
Yeah.
revealing the heart, you
Ooh,
know?
so
So
good.
it's
So
that's
good.
what range is, right? Is like
Yeah. Oh,
you're,
yeah. Yep.
you, you put forth a certain amount of vulnerability, you're going to get the same amount of depth back. And so
Mm.
that's, I
Yeah.
for women who want to feel fully alive, which is a lot of the women that I'm sure end up in your world, that end up in my
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
It's like there are edges that you're going to meet and have to kind of walk the plank of in order to reach that.
Yeah, and not only, it's like the edge once you bump up against one and you're like, "Okay, I got it. There's another one on the other side." Like you're constantly moving through these edges, which again, that's part of the human experience, right? It's part of the depth
Absolutely.
and all of that. So, I am so curious. You have a current challenge. Is it a challenge? An offer going on?
It,
It's
it's a
called
it, it's a master class, but there
Okay,
will be a
masterclass.
VIP option. But yes, it's called Niche Please.
I love this, and I want to hear how this is connected to like tell me about it. Tell me all about it.
So, coming from this Omega angle, we
Yeah.
talked about how Omega makes no sense.
Yep.
And a part of that is because we also talked about our conversation where Omega is everything.
Everything.
And
Mm-hmm.
so if you're a woman who has ever experienced like, how can I niche down? My offer is for anyone who wants it. My offer,
Mm-hmm.
my services can benefit literally anyone. What do you mean I've got to identify my ideal client avatar or,
Yeah.
put myself into a bio? Like niching I always say, can kind of feel like a hostage situation.
Totally. Yeah.
And the
Mm-hmm.
reason for that is because there's a part of you that knows that you are everything.
Mm-hmm.
Part of every woman who is so heart-led naturally that she's
Yes.
like, that's your own Omega, like fighting for herself, like you
Yeah.
will not box me in. And so
Yes.
I am niche please is for the woman who is like, niching doesn't feel good for me.
Mm.
And so how do I do business? How do I actually speak to the women that I want to speak to and frame who I am in the industry that I'm in a way that honors the fact that like I can't possibly be boxed in.
Mm.
And so I'll be teaching inside of that workshop a framework that
I love it.
helps you experience the fullness of your Omega in a way that's actually marketable.
I love this. So good. I think
I'm
that's going to resonate
very
with so many
excited.
people too. Like I'm going to come check it out too.
Yes.
Amazing. So we'll put the link for that in the show notes so people can jump in on that. And where else do you hang out?
Mostly Instagram at the
Yes, me
Andrea
too.
Johnson. Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
I'm like slide into my DMs again, relationship girl. So let's just talk,
Yes. Let's
share
chat.
things. Exactly. I'm like, sometimes I just want to know what's going on in people's lives and just
Oh
have a
yeah.
moment, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I say the same thing. I'm like, I'm so nosy in a good way, not in like a malicious way, but I just want to know everything. Like, what did you have for breakfast this morning? What are you doing today? What are your plans for tonight? Like, tell me everything. So
That's
I
probably why
love
you and I
that.
clicked, Sandy.
Seriously, right? I love it. I love it so much. Well, thank you so much for sharing your just energy, your joy, your expertise here, and this beautiful work that you do with me and my audience. I know it, like I said, the first time that we interacted, it has stuck with me. So I know that this conversation in this episode will stick with anybody who's listening. So please pop over to Instagram. Let us know what resonated. We love to hear what your takeaways are. That's what makes this so fun. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. So great to have you. Yes.
Thank you, Sandy. You're the best.
You're so welcome. All right. See you guys next time. Bye. If you are sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, this episode was made for me, you have two options. You can book your absolutely free, no pressure growth gap audit call. On this call, we'll take a look at your current life and business structure, identify where your gaps are, and show you how to close those gaps so you can get better results with less effort by working smarter and focusing your time on what actually moves the needle forward. The link is in the show notes for you. Or if you're ready to go from one-off wins to repeatable revenue with structure, strategy, and sales that support your life and keep dream clients coming back and your calendar full without burning out, you can apply to work together by clicking the link in the show notes. Make sure you hit that follow button so you don't miss any new episodes. And if this episode hits home, please consider leaving a review, hitting those stars, and sending it to your biz bestie who's also ready to build a life and business on purpose. I'll see you next time.